to Soundwave 2013 here in Melbourne, and with us now we have Josh from Stonesour. Josh, welcome.
Thanks, man. How are you?
Yeah, doing not bad. How are you enjoying the Soundwave experience so far?
It's been great. This is the second time that we've done it. So it's always a good time down here for us, and the weather's been cooperative, so all is well.
Now, I just want to quickly touch on the latest album, the House of Golden Bones, and it's a two-parter. So you got part one out now and part two coming out. I've been seeing some interviews and so on, and I've seen where the band's mentioned that some members of the band actually prefer part two to part one. What's the difference between part two and part one? What makes them almost complete different beasts?
I think part one, it's pretty much like Stonesour at our best of what up to this point of our career. The last 10 years. Part two, I feel like, is the next evolution. Moving forward, we got a lot more experimental on part two. There's a little bit different instrumentation and instruments that were added that we hadn't used before. Plus, just different sounds and stuff. And it's more.
Don't mind the flays. He's been our friend all morning.
It's just more of it follows the storyline, which is what both albums are about ultimately, anyway.
So there's new elements to the Stonesour sound being coming up in part two. Really, when is part two looking at being released?
I believe down here April 5th. I know in the U.S. it's April 9th, but obviously every territory has its own different date. So It's the beginning of April.
Was there ever a thought of possibly releasing both albums at the same time, or did you really want to focus on part one and separate that from part two and just do it like that, or what was the thought process between releasing two albums separately?
Well, there was initial talk of them both being released. I kind of was against that. I thought there were several reasons why. One, I thought from a packaging standpoint, which both packages will build a house, they'll interlock, which I thought was cool. We probably, obviously we wouldn't have been able to do that if they would have been released together. I like the idea of letting this short story end kind of on a cliffhanger and letting people want more, and it basically so it wouldn't. I thought that there would be more impact if they were separated instead of putting it together. Ultimately, we're going out and we're promoting it anyway. And what's really happened is it's allowed us to put out part one and do a around the world tour, and then we'll put out part two and then do the second go around. Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned that the second part is very experimental, showing different sides of Stonesour. But Stonesour to me has always been one of those bands that always tries to bring in little bits and pieces from outside the mould, so to speak, things that people aren't really expecting. So to me, Stonesour is a bit of an experimental band as it is. So I'm really looking forward to part two. But the thing is, do you think the industry's changed in such a way that bands are too scared to experiment nowadays? They're too scared to go outside their little box, and they just tried and tested and true method, and they're just too scared to break the mold. It's something that Stonesour not really applicable to Stonesour. But do you think is that applicable to a lot of other bands? And if so, is it because the industry's changed so much?
Oh, definitely. That was one of the things that got us kind of excited about doing the concept record, because we figured a band that would be labeled in our world, which we hate being labeled anything. Nobody's willing to take the chances. They want to go with what they know is successful at their level. For us, it's all about just keep pushing the boundaries and us trying to be the best musicians that we possibly can be. We could, just like when we did Audio Secrecy, we could have went back in and done Come Whatever May Part 2, but we didn't want to do that. That wasn't what we wanted to do, and the same goes with this. And the fact that we're willing to take chances, all of the great bands in history all have changed up. But with that being said, in today's world, basically you need to deliver a hit or make money, or your career's done. And so not many bands are going to take chances to try different stuff. Us, we just felt we have nothing really from a label standpoint. We didn't care what they thought, and we didn't have anything to lose. It was this is what we wanted to do, and this is what we're going to do.
I was reading somewhere that the House of Golden Bones Part 1 and 2, when it's all said and done, you're looking at, now correct me if I'm wrong, but you're looking at doing a movie around it or something like that as a band?
Doing a what now?
Like a movie, making it into a movie or something like this. I think it was, I think actually Corey was mentioning it in some past interviews and so on like that. Do you know much about that one?
Well, that's the end game or the ultimate goal. Right now, the biggest thing for us is to get ready to promote Part 2. We got the four-part mini-series comic coming out in April, or starting in April. And then hopefully do this huge tour next year, at the beginning of next year, where we'll play the albums in their entirities. And then after that, you know, we would love to see it become a movie, obviously.
Now, you mentioned before that now you're touring the world on cycle 1 of it, so to speak, and then cycle 2 and everything like this. I mean, you're out here as part of this massive Soundwave festival with some awesome bands and everything like that. What are the immediate plans after this? Are you looking at possibly coming back on that Part 1 cycle to tour Australia as a part of the headlining show or something like this?
Well, right now we're looking at coming back down here in the fall, October, November, December. As of right now, those are all tentative. Nothing's set in stone. That will be for Part 2, technically, or just our own headliner down here. So, but that's what we're looking at.
The thing is, with a festival like Soundwave, like we've got going on here, I think the beauty of it, to me, is that the shows are spread out. They're rather sporadic. You do one show, then you've got if you're not, unless you're doing headliners or sideways, everything like that, you've got 2 or 3 days before the next one, or 4. What have you been doing in your downtime in Australia?
Well, we've been doing the off shows. We've been actually support for Linkin Park. So, yesterday was the first day we actually had off, and I went and did, looked around the city, did a little bit of shopping, and then went to the Cherry Bar last night. So
yeah, Cherry Bar is everyone's favourite bar this time of the year. I think everyone hits that one up. So what's been the highlight of your Soundwave experience so far?
I mean, it's been awesome. I mean, 3 of my favorite bands are on this bill, so to me, being a part of it, it's pretty amazing.
Are there any bands that particularly you want to check out that you haven't heard about before?
Well, I haven't seen Ghost yet live.
Yeah, everyone's really talking about Ghost and really wanting to see them. I think.
Yeah, but we're on one stage and they're always on completely across, the compound or layout of it, and it's just been a timing thing too, which has been. So hopefully I get to see them before it all wraps up.
Okay. Well, we're getting a bit of a wind up here. So is there anything that you wanted to say to the viewers at MetalObsession?
No, I just want to thank everybody for supporting Stonesour over the last decade, and be looking forward to seeing you this fall, it looks like.
Well, Josh, thanks a lot for your time. It's been great having you, and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your stay down here in Australia. Cheers.